Good morning, video one. I wanted to talk to you today because I know that it's been really difficult for me to spend time with you and talk to you one-on-one when everyone else has things going on and you're all in different spots. So I'm just going to go over some basics that I want you to know about before you start the next part of your project. So today you should be finishing up your script. It's due at the end of the class period. I gave you a link to something called Adobe Story, and you can totally use that. That's an option. Some people don't like doing it that way. I'm just letting you be as flexible as you want to be with that. But you do need to have a script, and a script basically tells us exactly what's going on in the story. You're going to be putting in people's lines. You're going to be telling us what they're going to say. Even if you think that you want to do something where they do a little bit of ad-libbing, you need to have a really good idea of what you want them to say so that it comes out right. The other thing that you should be having in there is a little bit of direction as to where the scene is taking place. I did talk to you about story arc, and so that's something I'm also expecting, that it has a really strong beginning, middle, and end. So that was what we did last class period. I talked about that. I gave you a great video that had a good example of it, and then I gave you some time to start working on your story idea. Both of your groups had that done, and I know that your scripting was coming between last class period and then by the end of the class period today. So what I want to talk about now is some really important stuff. Some of it's a reminder, and some of it's stuff that I haven't shown you before, but you might have done in other classes. I don't know exactly where you are with everything, so I'm just going to go over it. You just watch through this. It's not going to take forever. All right, so first off, I want to go over this wide, medium, and tight reminder. And so right here I have something that is set up for you to take a look at. It's kind of goofy. But if you look at this, you have an example of a wide shot, a medium shot, and a tight shot. When you're looking at these, you want to make sure, since this is basically going to be done on a computer screen, it's not going to be on the big screen in a movie theater, you have a lot of tight shots. That's what we look for. And it's the same as it was for like the news story. Look for things that are interesting and unique. So the wide shot, this one right over here, that's going to be full body, more than full body of someone. If you're looking at a medium shot, it might be full body, it might be in a little bit closer than this, but it is definitely going to be it's going to be closer than the wide. And then this example of a tight, otherwise known as a close-up, that one is usually somewhere from about upper chest to top of head, and sometimes even closer if you're looking at a person. Otherwise, it's specific objects. So if you're looking at somebody's hand, it's close up on that person's hand. So these are some examples of what that would look like. And so make sure that you have a good deal of medium and tights in there. Wide, all that usually does is set the location. And so you're going to have mostly, you're going to start a scene with that. You could often start with that to set the setting. But after that, you have mostly medium and tights. I noticed that kids, for the most part, do a lot of mediums. They're fine to have here and there, but try to get more tights. And then think about, where do you want this located? Do you want everything to be from the same vantage point? That's not good. You want to have different perspectives as well. The only thing you don't want to do is cross over the 180 line. And I can talk to you about that if you have questions, but I think we've talked about that in class before. All right, so that was the first thing. I told you really fast, really quick. Next one is right here, learning about storyboards and shot lists. This is all planning, and the more planning that you do, the better off you're going to be when it comes to actually putting together the final piece. I've seen a lot of people not do this step very well or try to skip this step, and then what happens is they'll forget to film things, and they'll get to editing and realizing they have entire sections of their video not shot, and that obviously is a huge problem for them. So take care in this. The other thing that storyboards will do, I'm going to show you an example of a storyboard right here. Storyboards really help you visualize what's going to be on that screen. I mean, you've got that story kind of figured out from the audio part, the text that people are going to be speaking, but what's going to happen during that time when they're talking visually? What are we going to see on the screen? And so you're going to see here, and I'm going to give you one that's somewhat similar to this, where you've got a shot number. You've got the action that's going to be on the screen. You actually write that in. You have the dialogue, and while the dialogue might not be specific, like you might have in one particular visual, one cell here. So this shot one, that's a cell. That might represent a whole long area that has the same kind of scene in it. and you wouldn't be able to fit all the dialogue in it. Basically, this dialogue part right here, that's a general idea of what people are going to be talking about. And then the techniques, that could be your camera movement. It also could be the effects that you're going to use, like transitions and things like that. Sometimes people put in dream sequences and they want to add in some special sound that goes along with that, or they'll kind of make the screen a little fuzzy and come in and out that way. So whatever techniques you want to use, that gets listed in the FX or the techniques area. Notice that these are really beautiful, right? And I don't expect for you to do something that is this strong. I mean, this is done by an artist. Maybe some of you are artists, but I don't expect it. What I can tell you though is take a look at this. These first three are definitely setting the scene. They are 3 different shots, so every shot should be represented. 3 different shots, and they're all wide shots. Okay, I can clearly see that. We get into this is a little bit closer, and that might be more of a medium shot, but notice that it's set up so that we can see that it's going to be probably in rule of thirds. Obviously there's going to be movement in this whole thing, but it's going to start off in the area where it's kind of driving into the frame. Look at here, we have a close-up represented, okay? And so this right here shows us, yes, we're going to have a close-up, and it's going to give us something important here. So this is the visual of the person's face and close up to their eyes, and right here it just says Harry trying to be awake, and then the dialogue is feeling his thoughts slipping away and his eyelids becoming heavy. He blinked hard and rubbed one leg to keep himself awake. Obviously they've got some typos in here, but this is basically setting up what's going on in his mind, and that's why the visualization or the shot is of his face and close up to his face. It makes sense. This one right here is kind of another medium shot sort of, and you can kind of tell they're moving off into the distance, but notice that the lights are colored in red. I think that's supposed to point out that we want to be able to see those brake lights lit up. It also has a different perspective. Notice that this is at an angle, and I think that's really what they want to see on the screen. So what's the reasoning for that? I don't know, but it's something that they think is going to be important. I don't have the whole storyboard. Anyway, you want to represent both the wide, medium, and tight shots in here, and you can see that they are. For you guys, everybody always asks, okay, so can we do stick figures? And you can, but when you do that, you still have to show wide, medium, and tight. So like in this area, maybe you have a big circle and you can see the eyes and they're closer. Okay, they can't just be a stick person that looks far away and have me think, or even you remember, that that's supposed to be a close-up shot. It really should represent the wide, medium, and tight as well. Alright, so I'm going to show you right now what it is I'm expecting, or what we're going to be using. This is the example of the storyboard. Up here it's important to put in the page number, so after you're done with the whole thing, you'll be able to put in this last number, but right away you can start with this. The first page that you're working on, put number 1 right in this slot, okay? After you're done with all of them, then count the number that you have. So if you have 6 storyboards sheets, or maybe you have 16, that number goes right in this area, and that helps you so that you can make sure that you've got everything. So say for example you get the paper somewhere and you were shuffling around with it, you see that you only have 15 pages, you know that you've missed one somewhere, or maybe the papers got out of order because you were using it and you wanted to make sure that you knew where everything was. Well, you can reorder just because you know and you have written down what the page number is here. I do want you to figure out who's going to be the person who's directing. That's the person who's standing there and saying, okay guys, I want you to stand right here and I want the camera to be right here. The videographer is the person who's filming, and you don't have to fill in the interviewer because that's not something we need to do here. These shots are numbered 1 through whatever, however many shots you're going to be using. Just make sure you number them so that you know what it corresponds to when you take the film itself. So you might take things out of order because it'll make sense for you to do that because your locations might not be available. And so what you can do right here, or what you can do is you can use a little whiteboard, write down the shot number on it, and shoot that at the very beginning of the scene so that you can put them in order really quickly. That's a really nice thing. Or just a piece of paper, just with those numbers on it. It'll correspond here and then it'll make sense. Okay? So the action is exactly what we were looking at over here. I'm going to go back. So action, what's going on? Right here, the dialogue. The land was so flat that if you stood a barn, you could stood on a barn, you could see the lights of the cars of a car like stars on the horizon. I don't even know what that says, but the point here is that whatever's being said goes in that area. It corresponds to this one. The only thing that's really a whole lot different is this FX thing. We're going to call that techniques on this one. Effects for me are going to be basically transitions that you think that you're going to be using in the editing process, maybe the camera movement you decide to use, whatever special effects you want to be adding or camera movement goes in that area. Here's where you draw it in. And so again, represent wide, medium, and tight there. Show us that you're going to be close. And I'm not looking for great art, so just make sure that it looks like something that makes sense. And guys, when you do this and do it well, the pieces come out much better. So you really have to think through your process. Now, that's going to take some time. And just so you know, we're planning on getting this whole thing, this storyboard and the shot list, and I'll tell you about the shot list in a little bit here, done by the end of next class period. So you're going to need to make sure that you start working on this. You might even send the storyboard home, or send the storyboard home with someone with the script, and have one person do that while the other person takes care of the shot list later. You will have part of the class, or you will have a class period to do it next class period, but I know that you probably want to start a little earlier than that. You might. All right, so we were on making a storyboard, kind of talked to you about that. I could spend a whole lot longer talking about it, but you probably wouldn't pay a whole lot of attention to it anyway. So let's take a look at this next part. Once you have the storyboard done, the visualization's done in your mind, but it's hard to go to a set or go to the place where you're going to be filming and use this page through all of these pages of a storyboard to make sure you get everything. So what you do with the shot list is you transfer the information that's on here. So you're still going to take this with you, but you're going to transfer the information that's right here on the storyboard into a shot list. Okay, so here you can throw in the director's names, who's going to be acting. This stuff you can, delete, or you can add parts, delete parts, whatever. Period and date, that's just this class period, the date that you're doing it, title of your production. That just kind of keeps things in order. Now, what you're going to do right here, where it says video, is you are going to be putting in, let's go back to this. We want to have the landfill at night. Okay, so I'm going to do this, and that one was definitely a wide shot. Landfill at night. I can even put in the shot number, and then what audio is going to be happening there. I know that it's going to be, let's just make it up a little bit. Okay, crickets in the background. Okay, how many seconds is that going to be? And so that's where you have to kind of think about it. How long do you think it makes sense to have it? You might want to really take some time with this one. Maybe you say that you have it in there for 4 seconds. Okay, so just kind of take a look at this. As you go through this, you're going to find out that you can add up how much time you have expected that you're going to be seeing these things on the screen, and that'll help you decide whether you're in your 2 to 4 minute range. And of course, the first time you do it, it's kind of difficult to figure out how long it's going to take things, but you have to do your best estimation. Okay? So once you're done with this, you can print this off and you can take it with you. And basically what I like to do is, as soon as I'm done filming something, I cross it off. And that makes sure that I get everything. So remember when I talked about this at the very beginning of the block, I said, or at the very beginning of this recording, I said that sometimes people will go out and forget to film certain scenes. Well, here, if you have everything listed and you cross it off as you go, you won't forget, and you won't be frustrated when you come back. All right, so I'm going to delete this because I'm going to give it to you in a little while here when you get to class. We've got everything done from 1 to 4, and I just want to tell you a little bit about filming. I kind of did already, but I just wanted to let you know that you can start filming as soon as you have that shot list done. I do want your filming to take place by Friday next week. I know that doesn't give you the weekend, but I'm just looking ahead at time, and because we have 3 class periods next week, it just makes sense to get this done and start editing on Friday. You're going to get about 3 class periods then to edit if needed, and I think you probably can use that time. And so that's going to put you into the last or the first week of April, I believe. So just know that we're looking at things little by little. Storyboard and Shotlist have to be finished by the end of next class period. It's right here. And then filming is going to take place by Friday next week. And then after that, you're going to be editing. Okay, if you have any questions, let me know. But hopefully this will be helpful for you.